In this episode of the Locked On NBA Big Board podcast, me and my brother James are going to discuss the big man matchup that took place yesterday. I think it was in Madison Square Garden, right?
It was at the Garden.
Madison Square Garden between Kel'el Ware and Donovan Clingan. Two guys that a lot of people think could be lottery picks. I know I had Kel'el Ware at the back end of the first round in my big board that I put out in August, but I have bumped him up based off of his play in the early season. I was high on Donovan Clingan, which James doesn't 100% agree with, but we are going to break down this matchup between two guys that are arguably the best centers in college basketball. Stay tuned. Big shout out to each and every person that has made the Locked On NBA Big Board podcast your first listen of the day. I'm your host, Rafael Barlowe, the director of scouting for NBA Big Board. And to my left, but it might be to the right, if you're watching on YouTube, is my younger brother, James Barlowe, who's been a great addition to the NBA Big Board family.
Appreciate that, man.
Yeah, if you're watching, I got on my Jackson State sweatshirt. I had it on yesterday.
Why do you have on a Jackson State sweatshirt?
We beat Missouri. It's rare that a SWAC school, HBCU school, beats an SEC team on the road. And yeah, if you saw me at the Mavs game, I had it on yesterday. So I'm wearing it again today because it's not every day that a Jackson State team beats a Power 5 school. So shout out to Mo Williams. Big shout out to Mo for getting his first victory against a Power 5 school. All right, let's talk about PrizePicks first. I wanted to get right into this episode, but I want to talk about PrizePicks because this episode is brought to you by PrizePicks. And it is the easiest and the most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. And if you go to prizepicks.com and you use the promo code LOCKEDONNBA, it has to be in lowercase, LOCKEDON NBA, you can get a deposit match up to $100. All right, let's talk about the matchup between Ware and Clingan.
Okay.
Who do you have as the higher rated prospects on your, I don't know if you've done a big board yet, but who do you have as the higher rated prospect in your mental big board?
I kind of have them even right now. If I had to pick tonight, I would probably still go with Ware, but like they're roughly even to me for different reasons.
So, I mean, it didn't sound like you were high on Clingan, as high as I was on Clingan. So why is it even? I mean, do you have like big concerns about Ware? Are his concerns as equal as the concerns you have about Clingan?
So like, yes, but they're different concerns. So like with Ware, I don't know if I trust his feet on defense, man. I think I don't think his feet move fast enough for how athletic I think he is.
He might. Those Adidas he had on yesterday was some big, heavy, clunky looking high
Maybe
tops.
That's what it was. He just didn't look. But it wasn't even that. Like against one of the mid majors they played, like he just got beat in pick and roll, like, and it wasn't by anybody that we're gonna talk about anytime soon. Just overall from yesterday, like, I don't think anybody made any money for themselves in the matchup. Nobody separated themselves. And also with that, like, that game isn't a forecast of what you expect to see from either of them in the NBA, to me, especially on the offensive end. Like, I didn't watch that game thinking like, man, if Kel'el Ware just had a couple more post touches, like, I'm not giving him the ball in the post. And it's unfortunate because he's got some skills and some shooting touch. I wish he would have faced up. He maybe would have made some money there if he'd have showed a face-up game. But I think he was content on trying to back down the bigger man. And the bigger man, negated all his athleticism because he's 7'2", probably
280. They got him at 280.
Okay, so he's 7'2". He's 40 pounds heavier. I didn't understand that the sense behind that. He did pop a couple of times for a couple of 3-pointers. And
that's all he made.
That's all he made. And again, those first couple of plays, I was like, oh yeah, he about to make some bread today because like he's showing he can pop. And we had talked about maybe Mike Woodson was like, nah, man, we don't need you popping against these 6'8" future family men that we're playing here. But again,
describe the word family man.
Family man means, you know what, you might not have a career playing basketball, and at the highest level. It's no shame. I'm a family man. You know, hey, shout out to my kid who's in the other room. But it's just, I wasn't disappointed in the matchup. I just wasn't overwhelmed by either of them.
It definitely wasn't Tim Duncan versus Marcus Camby in 96.
You ever seen that tweet?
Or 95.
That tweet about the two women and somebody had a caption, they having a mid-off? That's what it looked like yesterday, man. Dudes was just being tall. I mean, you know, hey. But it is what it is.
Yeah, Donovan Clingan's team got the win. He finished with 7 points, 9 rebounds, but he had 2 assists, 2 steals, 2 blocks. He was only 1 of 3 from the floor, but he was 5 of 8 from the foul line. I thought that he impacted the game just off of his size and his activity. He drew a lot of fouls. Kel'el Ware had 11 points, 8 rebounds, but he was 2 of 10 from the floor, but he was 2 of 4 from 3, and he was 5 of 6 from the foul line. One of the things that I noticed about Ware in this particular game was he plays like a lefty. At least his post-ups were on the right block, like a lefty. And I know in the last episode when we talked about the grass is greener, I mentioned that he had a post move where he made some post plays in the previous games where it's like a running hook with his right hand, with his left hand. And so yesterday I felt like he was posting up on the right block and he was trying to shoot off, try to make contact with the right shoulder and then shoot with the right, which is something you can't do against a great shot blocker like Donovan Clingan. So I'm like, why didn't you use your left hand? I thought there were a couple buckets or a couple post plays where if he had a shot like a left hand hook or left hand jab or something like that, it would have been a more efficient shot than, again, you're posting up on the right block, you're trying to go middle, your right shoulder is the closest to the defender, and then you're shooting with the right hand. So, again, I thought the left hand was something that was in his arsenal, but looked like he was afraid to use it, and then it just looked like he really struggled trying to post up against the obviously bigger man. And Donovan Clingan is a really, really good defender, so it's no knock on Ware. But
he played definitely into his strengths.
He played into his strengths. I thought that, again, he should have faced up a little bit more. I would have loved to have seen that.
A jab. If he just caught the ball, jab.
But he did it from 3. He did one play. I think he missed it where he caught it from 3, jabbed. And, of course, Clingan was going to let him shoot that. But I'm thinking, like,
do that from 15 feet away, though. Why not?
Are we asking him to be Embiid? Because that's like one of Embiid's go-tos, that he faces up and then he's going to jab. But, you know, Embiid is fluid.
Right. But Embiid does that because when Embiid backs you down, he doesn't see double teams as well. And he can see the defense better when he faces up. I mean, like, they're not double teaming Kel'el Ware against Connecticut. Not when we're supposed to have the best defensive big man in the country. I just don't understand how at 7 feet, like, you just don't have especially with your shooting touch, you just don't have just a jab, jump shot, jab, jump shot.
So, I get it. I mean, when we return, I'll talk about why I get that he probably doesn't have that in his bag. Once again, thank you for making the Locked On NBA Big Board podcast your first listen of the day. We are just getting started. Stay tuned. All right, before we get into the second segment, I wanted to talk to you about PrizePicks, because PrizePicks is daily fantasy made easy. All you have to do is pick 2 to 6 players, and it is you versus the projected numbers. You're not playing against anyone unless you want to. And the reason I say unless you want to is because PrizePicks now has a community plays league where you can play against Meek Mill and Andrew Schultz. But all you do is pick 2 to 6 players, and you pick the projections. It's just you versus the numbers. You're not going against any of like these bots or just a group of people unless you want to. Also, PrizePicks has this is brand new. It is a new combo projections. It is called a specials league where you can pick LeBron James and Travis Kelce. Let's say you chose LeBron James and Travis Kelce. And you can pick a combination of 10.5. And that is a combination of 10.5 3-pointers made and receptions. And if you pick them right, you can win. So all you have to do is go to PrizePicks.com, download the app, PrizePicks.com, and you have to use the promo code LOCKEDONNBA and make sure it is in lowercase. PrizePicks.com/LOCKEDONNBA for a first deposit match up to $100. Again, PrizePicks.com/LockedOnNBA. You can get a first deposit match up to $100. Big shout out to each and every person that's made the Locked On NBA Big Board podcast your first listen of the day. All right, when we left off, James is talking about he doesn't understand why Kel'el Ware doesn't have that in his bag. I get it. He's a 7-footer. He's athletic. Not like a crazy elite athlete, but he's athletic. So you know on the high school level and the prep levels, he was able to impact the games with his size and his athleticism, and he probably just shot threes. I mean, think about it from a developmental standpoint. How many American bigs got work on the block, mid-range, and athleticism? Like, I feel like if you have athleticism, then in your developmental stage, you're probably not working on your low post game.
I get it, but ultimately, like, no disrespect to whoever's been working with him, but or maybe he just doesn't feel comfortable doing it. But like, you got to think past today in your development. You got to think like, okay, I'm 7 feet. The probability of me making bread playing basketball is very high. Let me work towards something.
More than very high. If you are a multiple max player, you can make $1 billion.
Yeah.
The way the game is going. So I get that point of your.
I'm just saying, like, okay, if that was my youngin in that situation and we dominate in high school basketball and it's super easy, I may say, hey man, this quarter here, because we smacking teams and we got another NBA player on our team.
Nick Smith was his teammate in high school.
This quarter, or you can look at the schedule. Hey man, this game here, you on the block. You facing up. Like, we working on stuff. Because it's bigger than this state championship, this district game, all that
but
stuff.
From a high school coach, only thing a high school coach wants to do is win.
Like, we're going to win either way.
But, I mean, he's not. Most high school coaches are like, I'm trying to get these W's. I'm not trying to develop.
Man, let me tell you something, man. When you got 2 McDonald's All-Americans, 9 times out of 10, the game is over before it even starts.
Should be.
So, we smacking teams. Look, I'm not saying that when we play against the Montverdes or not, we trying to win those games. I'm talking like we play the family men.
Family boys.
The family boys. Hey, man, look, I need you to work on this because it's going to work. Like, we got to get some live action reps because, again, you just got to think, like, long term. And it's not just for him, Kel'el Ware, or any bigs. It's like, as a guard, if you are projecting to be one of those guys, like, how are you not working on your catch and shoot jump shot? Because ultimately, the higher you get, the better the players, the better your teammates are. So you got to learn how to play off the ball in a sense. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you're not saying, because Isaiah Collier is making threes off the catch because he's worked on it, right? Mm-hmm. But Isaiah Collier, let's say he gets drafted by the Spurs next year. Wemby will have the ball in his hands. You got to be ready to shoot. So it's like, I don't understand. Sometimes, in my personal opinion, you have to think about the player's development past the current. You got to try to see 3, 4, 5 years down the line.
But most coaches are thinking about today.
I get that.
And winning.
But yesterday afternoon, they were giving Kel'el Ware the ball on the block.
Yeah.
And he had a perfect opportunity to make himself some big money yesterday. He didn't lose money, I don't think.
Yeah.
But he could have made a lot of money yesterday.
What were your thoughts about the motor? That's kind of like been the question about him. I thought that early in the game, it looked like he was moving a lot faster. I didn't think he had a low motor game, but I thought with Clingan, even though Ware outscored Clingan, I thought Clingan showed how to impact a game just off of his energy and motor and effort.
You know what I wish I would have saw yesterday is what Alex Sarr did when he played the G League Ignite in those 2 games on TV. He was like, look, this is my opportunity, and if it's not real, I'm going to trick you. So like that motor was motoring against Ron. It was revved up. He was doing chin-ups on the rim. He was screaming. He was staring people down. Like,
which was to me, it was out of character for him in a sense. It was something that I hadn't seen out of him before. Like when I think he blocked a shot and yelled. It was something that, like I said, we hadn't seen. And maybe that was strategic. Like, hey.
But that's what I'm saying. You got to be strategic.
Get out of character a little bit. Do a little screaming. Chin up. And I know they say 2 points is 2 points.
But
if someone yams and hangs on the rim and screaming, it can give you the perception of, okay, this guy tough. This guy won it.
And again, if, like, he should know, like, man, they questioned my motor. So, man, I'd have been grabbing rebounds with both my feet in the air like Dennis Rodman, like just doing everything. And I don't necessarily feel like I questioned his motor. Mm-hmm. I just wish I would have saw more. Like I said, I feel like he had a great opportunity yesterday to make himself more money to improve on his draft stock, and I don't think he didn't. And it's not all him because I don't think the point guard plays the best at Indiana. Mm-hmm. So it's not like he had somebody who could just spoon feed him good looks and rolls. He did have a couple of opportunities in rolls, but like maybe the point guard plays a little better. But I just feel like he could have did a little bit more on his end.
So you said that this game didn't really show you much. Did it help or hurt his draft stock, in your opinion, or is he just?
I feel like it remained the same. I don't think, because again, the guy on the other end didn't do anything in particular to me improve his draft stock. So they kind of like they played evenly in a sense. I mean, obviously Ware was more active on the offensive end, but he didn't have the efficiency. But again, I also understand that I'm not gonna give him the ball on the block based on what I've seen from him. I wish I could. Mm-hmm. So I wasn't like too concerned with him just getting his shot blocked in the paint, because like that's just not what I see teams projecting him to do at the next level. I think he's a rim runner.
He had no blocks this game.
That's crazy, because they were putting him in pick and roll, and yeah. So
and Clingan had two. I mean, Clingan was obviously considered the better shot blocker of the two. All right, when we return, we're going to wrap up this episode. We're going to talk about Donovan Clingan. Donovan Clingan is someone that I had really high. I wouldn't say I'm disappointed in his early start, but he's definitely not as dominant and productive as I thought he would be based off the small sample size of games that he had last year. So stay tuned to hear our thoughts on Donovan Clingan. All right, last segment coming up. But before we get into the last segment, I want to tell you about FanDuel, one of our greatest sponsors. And right now, if you are a new customer, you can get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 moneyline bet. That is $150 if your team wins. So if you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, the time is not now, but right now, because there's not a better time to get in on the action. The app is easy to use. There's a wide range of betting options, including spreads, player props, overs, unders, and more. So go to FanDuel.com/LockedOnNBA and kick off the NFL season and the NBA season. College basketball too. FanDuel, the official partner of the NFL and Locked On. All right, last segment, Donovan Clingan. Now, I know I was higher on Clingan than you.
Yeah.
Just what were your thoughts on Clingan's performance?
He did exactly what I expected him to do, which was be active on defense. He disrupted a couple lobs.
Yep.
His presence on defense is evident, especially in college basketball, because you don't really have to defend in space.
Yeah, you can pack the paint. I feel like they kind of tried to make him defend in space by having Ware pop out. And I mean, I'm sure he was fine with Ware taking those threes.
They kind of went away from it though after he shot a couple.
Yeah.
And it's like my concerns with Clingan is at the next level, when that is off the top of my head, when that is Kristaps Porzingis. are you going to give that effort? That's a tough matchup for everybody, right? Yeah. Because you got Tatum and in pick and roll, and then you got to try to cover. But like
that's how bigs get hurt.
Yeah, and that's my concern with him.
That's how bigs get hurt because you got to try to cut off the. I mean, you just guys that big aren't naturally supposed to.
But that's the NBA these days.
Defend in space, protect the paint, run out, contest the shot.
Yeah. So and that's my question. Like he's mobile for him being that size, but is he athletic enough? Is he mobile enough to defend at that level in space? And that's my issue. I mean, and again, he didn't have any offensive game, and I'm kind of leery on taking. Let me see, how can I describe his athleticism? Not a super athletic big that high with no offensive game.
Yeah, that was the thing that you were hearing about all summer is that he's going to show an expanded offensive game. I even saw I was at church, but I was trying to not rush out of church, but I was hoping to get home before the game started because it started at noon Central Time. But I as soon as church was over, I saw a tweet and it was showing clips of him warming up, shooting jumpers. I don't see the flashes. I've had people tell me, oh man, he's been knocking down jumpers, yada, yada, yada. Now, he shot the ball well from the free throw line. He was a poor free throw shooter last year. But I thought that he was going to be a double-double machine. And what I'm concerned at is that, they're not at the toughest part of their schedule. And he still hasn't had the 15 point, 13 rebound, 3 block game. The numbers are just a little bit better than last year. So that part is concerning.
And he's got really good guards, too. So you can't blame the guards. You can't say that, they put him in pick and roll.
They got shooters.
It's a perfect opportunity for him to be, productive.
Do you think it's a situation where he's on such a talented team with so many weapons that they don't need to feature him to win?
Well, again, I'm never throwing him the ball on the box unless it's a little kid behind him. But
I would. On a duck in, a great duck in.
You talking about in college or you talking about in NBA?
Period. I know the NBA doesn't.
No, I'm not giving him.
But I'm just saying, I think if he ducked in, I'm a big Zach Randolph.
That's Zach Randolph, man.
And I know Zach had great touch, but one of the things Zach did so well was he knew how to duck in, and once he ducked in, because he was so strong, he didn't need post moves.
That's Zach Randolph, man.
I get it.
That's a left-handed, feathery touch.
No, I know
face-up game.
Clingan doesn't have that. But I'm just saying, those points that Zebo used to get on hard duck-ins. I remember talking to a friend of ours that's an NBA player. And he was just man, the dude is so strong, and you can't stop him from ducking in. And that's what I want to see out of a guy like Clingan. College basketball, there's nobody his size. He doesn't have to have great touch from deep. And when I say deep, I'm not talking about a three-pointer, but he doesn't have to have great touch to be able to just overpower his guy on the duck end, get near the rim, and just put it up around the rim.
I get it. I just would like to see, like you said, just more. Because like I said, this is their first true test. That's the first high major team that they played. And, what do you have? 7?
Yeah, 1 of 3 from the floor.
He got 3 attempts. We're not getting on the glass. Nothing else.
He had 9 rebounds.
I'm talking about the offensive glass.
Oh, yeah. When he got the offensive rebounds, those turned into the foul attempts.
Okay, that makes sense.
So that's where he was able to get his free throws. Like I said, I thought he played well off of activity, but I thought we would see more from him on the offensive end this season, which so far we just haven't seen the flashes. And like I said, there was talk about him expanding his range and showing that he can knock down threes. He's not as productive offensively as Sanogo was last year.
Right. And
Sanogo's playing in the G League with Windy City. It's just interesting how college basketball is. Sanogo was dominant on the inside, and he was knocking down threes. I think he was tournament MVP.
Yeah.
He's in the G League.
But he's 6'9", right?
He's 6'9".
6'9".
More gifted offensively. Clingan is nowhere near the same offensive player, but he's bigger. Is expected to have a great defensive impact, and he's projected to go higher. That just shows like where the NBA is at on big men. All right, so let's say you're the GM of the Washington Wizards, right?
Okay.
And somehow you end up, and I know if you're a Wizards fan, you probably don't want to hear this scenario.
They're gonna end up with like the 5th pick.
So you don't get a high pick, or the pick that you want. But in this draft, I don't even know if winning the number 1 pick
might not even matter.
It's almost like, I think if you're a GM, you're like, look,
we like these 5 guys. Yeah. If they're available, like, then that's who we're gonna take.
If I'm a GM, I don't know if I want number 1, because I'm like, man, I might lose my job taking the best player, because the best, I don't know. I mean,
we don't know who the best player is.
Yeah, I think this draft is going to be really, really wide open, and you might be able to get the guy that you want
at 7,
or 8. So let's say you're the Washington Wizards, right?
Okay.
And you need a center. All right, let's just
hold on. First off, if I'm the Wizards, I'm not drafting a center, because I'm drafting the best player.
All right, I'm gonna change it around.
All right.
The Wizards trade, and they end up having multiple lottery picks. They're in a situation similar to Orlando was last year.
Okay.
Right?
So you got the 13th and the whatever.
Yeah. Both guys are available. Who are you taking? Are you taking Ware because he has, in my opinion, the higher upside? Like if he puts it together.
Yes, the higher upside.
Or are you taking Clingan, who next to Bilal Coulibaly, you have your 2. You have like a starting point for defenders, and also Abdi is a good defender.
Yeah, he's a very good defender on the ball.
So who would you take?
I'd probably go with Clingan.
This is interesting. You know why this is interesting?
Why is this interesting?
Because if I'm the Wizards, I'm like, look, we going with the highest upside. I'm swinging for the fences. And I would take Kel'el Ware.
That's my mindset most of the time, though.
I'm not playing it safe.
That's my mindset most of the time, too. But ultimately, if I were going to say something like that, I'd probably pick neither of them, depending on where I'm picking at. But, like, if I was just, like, hell-bent on picking a center of the 2 of them, and this is assuming that I got the other guy that I wanted, my home run, maybe he's an all-star somehow down the way. And then
you got pick 1 and 12.
Okay, check this out, right? So let's say they get pick 1 and 12, right? And my big board that's in my head right now is still Alex Sarr, right? I'd take Sarr and I just take
a 4.
It doesn't matter, 4 or 5, but I take them both. Take 2 bigs is what I'm saying. And let's say if I take Sarr, I mean, that's my ultimate upside guy, right? And then I would go on the back end and take Clingan and say, all right, maybe they can somehow play together, or this is my safe pick just in case whatever happens. Like Sarr still can't catch and he can't shoot like we think he can shoot. So
this is just a random scenario that I threw out there. All right, once again, thank you for making the Locked On NBA Big Board podcast your first listen of the day. Once again, this is Rafael Barlowe with my brother James. Also, we want you to check out Locked On Sports Today. It is a 24-hour, 7 days a week streaming platform on YouTube. It's the first of its kind. So check out the Locked On experts along with the national shows on Locked On Sports Today on YouTube. Once again, it's Rafael with James, and we are out.